All marketing works. All business development works. For someone. The question is, will it work for you? Does it make sense to do? Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to be bringing guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, it's Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. This episode, let's discuss the difference between bringing in a new strategy to your business versus maybe just better execution of what you currently have. Now, why do I bring this up in a conversation? The reason is recently I was referred to a very successful advisory team. And as I like to do, I like to get in there, kind of mix it up, see what's going on. And the one question I always ask is, hey, why are we together? Like, what brings you in front of me? How do you think I can help you? And the answer or answers were, hey, we need new strategies. We've kind of stopped growing. We want to continue to grow. And I said, well, A, what are you doing or what have you done in the past, right? And they'll say, well, we work with some COIs, we get some referrals. We kind of get very typical, like I think most advisors do, which is a little bit of this, a little bit of that, right? Get some referrals, from COIs, we do some networking, we do some philanthropy, stuff like that, and so on. And then I said, okay, so what are you thinking of doing? Like, okay, so you want to do new, so what's new? And then everybody obviously defaults into, right? Oh, we want to create a YouTube channel, and we want to get into social media, and we want to do some digital marketing, and we're thinking about doing seminars and all these other things. And I'm like, okay, I get you on that. And just to give you guys a framework of kind of the practice that they have, it's an independent practice. There's 3 partners. I would say I'm gonna keep the numbers round. Basically, 500 million under management, about $5 million top line, running about 60% EBOC. All good numbers, right? Very, very, very successful firm. And partners been together 10 years. They kind of merged their thing at a firm, then they kind of bolted on the other side of the fence. And so I want you to picture me and like 3 partners on a Zoom. Like it's 4 boxes, right? Forget all our AI note takers. There's another 4 boxes, right? And so we're talking, and I'm listening to them, and because I'm listening, I'm thinking. I do both. The thought came to my mind and go, well, wait a second. Like, what is the end result of all this, right? Because at the end of the day, and this is where I think a lot of advisors get into the business of doing just to do, without really thinking through the end game, like the result they seek, right? So in a simple world, we all seek growth, right? Everybody that I know is always happier when their business is growing versus when it's shrinking, right? So we always want to be growing it. And so I said, what's the end result? They said, look, we want to get to $1 billion in the next 3 to 5 years, right? I said, great. So aggressive timeline's 3, more reasonable timeline's 5, anywhere in there, and this is minus any acquisitions they would do and stuff like that, because they're thinking about acquisitions. They've done everything, by the way, organically. So they've not bolted on, they've not sunsetted anybody. This has been pure organic growth. So as I'm talking to them, I'm like my brain's going, like, they want to bring all these new things in and they've never executed. And at the end of the day, what really matters is growth, right? And this is something I want you guys to really hear. There's a massive difference between top line and bottom line growth and popularity. Now, why do I say that? Popularity is I think a lot of advisors seek that because in their mind, it meets their needs of significance. And so people watch, they hear my podcast, they watch my YouTube channel, advertisement. I've had guys do billboards, cable TV, been on Fox Biz, CNBC, Bloomberg. I think I've seen it all. And I'm sure there'll be some new things eventually, but I'm sure I'll see those too. Here's the thing. You can spend a lot of money and put a lot of time and energy and effort and get really popular, but never equate popularity to business. Here's what I mean by that. About 15 years ago, I had a client, actually more than one client, I should say, probably 2 or 3 over that period of time, who wanted to experiment with billboards. And so I think you all, even you young people, know what a billboard is, right? It's a little sign on the big thing on the side of the road. And so, they have the photo, the 800 number. And, what's interesting is if you think about for some professions like attorneys, right? Like personal injury attorneys, right? Advertising works, right? Name recognition matters. In advisor world, it just never equated. And the analogy I used to use, and some of you will get this analogy, was if you go back, when the yellow pages were a thing, you can just go in the back and see how many pages were these big full page of personal injury advertisements, right, in the yellow pages. And the advisors, maybe there's like a half a page of just listings, right? No display ads, right? So it told you that people tried, it never worked. So fast forward to 2025, we're kind of in that version now, but it's a little bit different. Now we're using social media as kind of our thing, right? And so with this team, I'm saying, so let me get this right. You guys want to do workshops you've never done. You guys want to put a YouTube channel together. Okay, fine. Tell me why you want to. Well, we want to drive engagement. Okay. And you think engagement is going to equate to business, right? Direct line. Like, can you make that case for me, right? And they couldn't, right? And I said, and you want to do like, your Instagram and your LinkedIn also. I said, great. Look, nothing wrong with that. But it has to be supportive. So let's talk strategy versus execution for a second. This is where I started to take them. I said, look, let's talk about execution. So I kind of walk them back, and you can kind of do the math, right? This is a nice practice, right? Half a bill, about 250, 300 households, not crazyville. So very nice averages. You can do the math in your head. And I said, well, let's walk back for a second. And you said you get business from some COIs, CPAs, attorneys. So yeah, we do. Okay, great. And you said you get some referrals. Yeah, that's great. And I'm just going to keep it into new clients. I'm not going to get into optimization and wallet share. We're just going to keep it on to new households, right? I said, so you want to get to $1 billion, right, in 3 to 5 years. I said, it's not hard. Let's just reverse engineer this thing, right? You're probably going to need, plus some organic growth, plus some optimization, you're probably going to need somewhere in the neighborhood of 175 to 200 $2 million average households, plus, and we'll get us to our bill, right? So let's just work with the concept of 200 households, right, over the next 3 to 5 years. And I said, so tell me about your COI strategy. And there was none. It was just like some random, as CPAs would call in for tax time. Like there's no thought process. So in other words, very, very poor execution. And then I said, well, on the referral side, what's your strategy? And like they have none, just kind of totally reactive, happenstance. So again, no poor execution of any strategy whatsoever, right? And so I just said, look, you can put energy and effort and budget into all those things, and that's easy to do because there are plenty of people they'll cash your check and help you do those things. So I'm not going to say they're bad to do. I've got clients that do them, so I'm not going to sit there and say it's a terrible idea. However, I said, you're looking for new strategies when you haven't mastered the execution of your current strategies. Hi, Coach Joe Lucas here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode. So here's what I did. I said on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being we are the premier executors of strategy when it comes to COIs, how would you guys rank yourself? 3 partners, averages out to about 3.5, 2.5, 3.5, somewhere like that. I said proactively promoting introductions and referrals. And so let's not get into strategies right now. We'll just talk about concept for a second. Scale 1 to 10, same thing. I said 2. So great. And I said, I want you guys to think about this. You've built a $500 million shop with poor execution, grinding away over a decade. What do you think would happen if we got good at execution? If we took those 2.5, 3.5s and got them to be 8s? What would that do to your velocity? What would that do? And this was our conversation. Like, hey, we don't need a bunch of things to do just to do. Is we need better execution of what we know that works, right? Like, in other words, we don't need proof of concept because we have proof of concept. COIs will refer us. Clients will refer us. So proof of concept, like there's no doubt there. Very poor execution. So this conversation went on for a bit. And I could see, initially there's pushback, right? Like, well, hey, we really want to get out there. And I said, look, this industry suffers from a big case of FOMO, fear of missing out. Just because another practice doing, lead gen online, or they're doing workshops in the public library or at the restaurant or wherever, doesn't matter, or the community center. It doesn't mean you should be doing them. And this goes back to, what I've said for decades, which is all marketing works. All business development works for someone. The question is, will it work for you? Does it make sense to do, right? And so we started having this conversation. I said, look, if you want to bring me on as your coach, well, there's a whole process which I'm not going to get into here. But I said, look, I want you to think about this as portfolios, right? We're going to have our core process to grow our business, and we'll have some satellite stuff, okay? And I said, look, if you guys want to do a YouTube channel and do some LinkedIn stuff and do that, I want that to be satellite stuff, right? So in other words, I'm not saying don't do it, but it's not the main deal, okay? The main deal is going to be we're going to get excellent execution on COI strategy, which I'll help them build, right? I've got clients that do, we've R&D tremendous results in that. I said, and then we're going to get excellent at very professionally and softly, without any downside, any risk, promoting introductions as a resource. And I'm not going to get into that. It's a whole different episode. I said, if you guys are willing to meet me with those 2 things, and they got team advisors. So again, it's not just 3 principles. I said, we're going to incorporate these 2 things into your team culture, because that's how it's going to get executed. Then if you want to go and build out the YouTube channel with a partner vendor and hire a fractional social media manager to help build out, I'm totally cool with that, right? I get it. Like, I understand. I have it here. Look, you're right here. You're watching my YouTube channel or listening to my podcast, right? So now if you ask me, like in my world, how much business do I get from doing these 2 things? I get some, but nowhere near what I get from referrals, right? So what do I do then? Passion project. I enjoy it. Giving back to a beautiful industry, all those kind of things, right? It gives me an outlet, right, to talk freely about things. I don't have to worry about pissing anybody off. So that's cool. So we start talking. And I said, look, if you want to engage me and partner with me, this is going to be the framework that we're going to operate under, which is we're going to get excellent at executing these 2 things, and then we'll do these other things. And so it's like one of those, like when you think about it, right? So last week before the holiday, they come back and they say, yeah, we want to move forward. So great. And we're all on the same page, right? Yep. You made a lot of sense. That's great. And the reason why I'm sharing the story with you guys in this episode is that, a lot of time, and this is just my maybe I don't want to say my experience, or as I go through another year doing what I do, I just have learned in my experiences that there's a massive difference in this game. Like I pop on LinkedIn maybe once or twice a week. I'm not there like I used to be, and that's a whole different conversation. I found it to be a bit of a distraction. But I see advisors have like these high level of engagements, like they're just very popular on LinkedIn. But then you kind of go to their website. 'Cause I like, again, something like to do this. So go to the website, look up their ADV, right? Really look in the hood, and they're managing like $40 million, right? And they've been in the business for like 15 years. So what does that tell me? That tell me that advisor cares more about popularity and significance, meeting their emotional needs, than meeting their P&L needs. And make no mistake, that's a real thing. So if you're watching or listening to me, depending on the modality you're consuming my content, I want you to think about, am I meeting my emotional needs for significance, for getting out there, but is it really bringing in business? So here's the test I want you to do. I want you, and it's an arbitrary number, but it's a good look. I would say anywhere from 12 to 20. Look at the last 12 to 20 new clients you got, and where did they come from, right? And rank them. Say, there was a referral, was it a networking thing, was it a COI, was it LinkedIn, Instagram, seminar, whatever, right? Rank them all. Last 12 to 20. And then you put them in the buckets, right? Here's my referral bucket, my COI bucket, whatever the buckets are. Then ask the all-important question. Based on the act, not hypotheticals, not isn't this cool or isn't this nice or look at me, people like me. No. Money, profit, okay? When you look at where your new clients come from, here's the question. How much time, focus, energy, and effort am I putting to my top two? Because your top two is probably 80%. So for argument's sake, like this scenario here, COIs and referrals, how much, so this business, right, this $5 million top line business, very successful, how much time and energy were they putting into perfecting the execution of their COI game? How much time, energy, and effort did they put into perfecting the execution of their referral game? Very little, if any. And yet they built a $500 million business. So for some of you, like, you got to stop looking west for a sunrise. Like, everything you need is in front of you, and stop getting seduced with all the other stuff to meet some emotional need of fearing of missing out or being significant or all this other stuff. And let's talk about what really works. Now, I went through this in my business, right? Last year. I did exactly what I'm saying to you as a coach. It applies to you guys as advisors, is same framework, okay? I looked at where my new clients come from, our new membership comes from, stuff like that. And shockingly, wow, surprise, referrals, right? Not LinkedIn, not this, right? I'd like it to be more. So there's a hint for everybody. But ultimately, it's like referrals, stuff like that. So then I asked myself the question, how much time, energy, and effort am I really putting towards that? And the reality was, right, maybe 4, 3.5. I think when I ranked myself, I think I give myself like a 3.5 out of 10. So not good at all, right? Now I think we're doing like a 6, going to be an 8. A lot of you have the same scenario. Now the caveat on this is, and this will probably be for another episode, if you're a young advisor, well, that's great, Joe, but how if I don't have a book of business? How do I don't have clients to leverage, right? Well, that's a different animal. And maybe next episode, I'll share with you some innovative ways for you younger advisors out there who are just starting out, how LinkedIn could work, how networking can work. But there's a couple other strategies that I've deployed with some younger advisors in a group that we have that's really, really paying some very powerful dividends. So I do want to get to that, but that'll be a conversation for another time. I want to appreciate each and every you for watching and listening to this episode of Magellan Network Show. Love you to share this episode. Like it, subscribe, Leave us a review. All those things matter. Again, we don't do sponsorships. It's just me sharing my experiences with you guys from that perspective. And if you want to check out more, MagellanNetwork.net is my home, well, one of my homes on the internet, where I think you'll find some really, really cool things there. Okay, so have a great weekend. Happy Friday, and I'll see you guys again in 7 days. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game, both personally and professionally.